Her business tripled, which is amazing news, but her client management was still just a total miss.
Let me guess. Sticky notes.
Sticky notes, yeah, sprawling Excel sheets.
And that's not just costing her time, it's costing her actual opportunities.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here to take your research, your sources, and really just unpack the key insights, giving you the fastest path to getting up to speed.
And today, we're tackling a problem that is, I think, almost universally relatable for any business that's starting to see some real success.
Yeah, that feeling of chaos that comes with growth.
Exactly. It's that point where the momentum you've built is suddenly being held back by the systems you don't have.
Yeah.
The excitement of a new client gets mixed with this administrative dread.
That is a perfect way to put it. And our sources really paint a clear picture of this using a great example of a fictional consultant, Sarah. Her business tripled, which is amazing news, but her client management was still just a total miss.
Let me guess. Sticky notes.
Sticky notes, yeah. Sprawling Excel sheets that were impossible to keep updated and, critical client emails just lost in different inboxes. The whole thing was just breaking down.
And that's not just costing her time, it's costing her actual opportunities.
Exactly. And that gap is where so many small companies find themselves. They're too big for spreadsheets, but then they look at the software market and, well, they see these giants that are built for a totally different kind of company.
Right. They need the power, but they absolutely cannot afford the complexity, the cost, the huge learning curve of a big enterprise platform.
And that brings us right to the heart of today's deep dive. Capsule CRM. The sources present this as the antidote to all that complexity. It's a simple but apparently very powerful solution for businesses right in that tricky growth phase.
Mm-hmm.
So our mission, based on your request, is to break this all down. We're going to explain its real value, give you a step-by-step on how to actually use it to get that value, and then answer the big question, is its simplicity really a game changer?
And we can start with a pretty compelling number right from the start, one that ties right back to that chaos we mentioned.
Okay.
That same consultant, Sarah, after she made the switch, she closed 40% more deals
40%.
in just 3 months. So, that's not a small improvement. That is fundamental growth, all by leveraging simplicity.
Wow. Okay, so a 40% increase suggests the problem was never about finding leads or, being good at her job.
Yeah.
It was purely about organization and follow-up.
It was a systems problem.
All right, let's unpack that. How does a platform built on being simple achieve something that big?
Well, to really get why Capsule's approach works, you first have to understand what most companies are trying to escape from. The standard industry approach, what we call enterprise CRM, just comes with so many hidden costs.
Right, so when you say CRM, most people's minds go straight to the big names, like Salesforce or HubSpot. And they're leaders for a reason, but that scale can be a huge drawback for a smaller team.
It's their biggest drawback. Look, those platforms are incredible pieces of engineering. They're built for thousands of users, complex global regulations, super specialized marketing funnels.
But for a growing team,
it's a nightmare. You got this overwhelming complexity, layers and layers of features you will never, ever use. And the learning curve, it's not days, it's weeks, sometimes months of training.
you almost need to hire someone just to manage the software itself.
You often do. A dedicated consultant just to get it running. And you made a great point earlier. These systems, they force your business to adapt to their structure, not the other way around.
So they're designed by engineers, maybe not by people who are actually trying to, manage a client relationship day to day.
Exactly. So Capsule, founded back in 2008, it steps right into that gap. And the core idea behind it, the sources say, was this sort of revolutionary premise. Your CRM should make your life easier. It should be an accelerant, not an administrative burden.
It sounds so obvious when you say it like that.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But it's not how most software is built. Capsule's whole philosophy is what they call just enough functionality. Every single feature is there for a reason. It's designed to save you time or give you an insight, not to add another step to your workflow.
So it's about removing that feature bloat, that decision fatigue of seeing 100 buttons and not knowing which one to click.
Mm-hmm. And that user-focused design gives it its biggest advantage, speed of adoption. We're not talking about a 6-week onboarding. We're talking about a new user being fully productive, actually adding value within hours.
Hours. Okay, that's a huge claim.
It is, but that's the key to extracting value, isn't it?
Right.
If your team can adopt it instantly and use it consistently, the investment pays off from day one.
So that speed to value is kind of our first clue to answering that game changer question. So before we get into the nuts and bolts of how to use it, can you just lay out the main structure for us? What are the core pillars of this system?
Yeah, of course. Everything is built around 5 main pillars, which keeps it really clean. So first you have contact management. That's your central hub for everyone you know.
It's the heart of the system.
Exactly. Then there's sales pipeline management. That's your visual map of all your deals. Third is task and activity tracking, which is basically the engine that makes sure nothing falls through the cracks. Fourth, email integration, which is the big time saver that gets rid of manual data entry. And finally, number 5 is reporting and analytics, which gives you clean, actionable insights to actually make decisions.
Perfect. Contact, pipeline, tasks, email, and reporting. Those are our building blocks. Let's dig into section 2 and see how a user actually gets value from each of those.
Let's do it.
All right, let's start at the absolute foundation. With contact management, I mean, if it's just a place to store names and emails, it's not much better than a spreadsheet. What makes this a real value driver?
So the key difference is turning that static data into a living, breathing history of your relationship with that person. It's about context. The value comes from really 2 things: the complete interaction history and the custom fields.
Okay, let's talk about that interaction history first. Why is having that complete picture so important in the day-to-day?
Well, just imagine a salesperson prepping for a call. The prospect first reached out 6 months ago. In the old system, the messy one, they're spending half an hour digging through old emails, trying to remember what they talked about. With a system like Capsule, every email, every note from a call, every task, it's all right there on one screen. So you never start a conversation with, "So can you remind me what we talked about last time?"
Right. It makes you look prepared, professional. It builds trust.
Instantly. And you mentioned intelligent tagging. So how does a user go beyond just, basic tags like lead or client?
So that's about making your data searchable and actionable. We'd encourage users to tag strategically. So instead of a generic tag, think in terms of next actions.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. You could tag someone with industry, tech startup, pain point, scalability, and maybe next action, send pricing. Now you can, in seconds, pull up a list of the 15 people out of 500 who need that specific email today.
Got it. So it's segmentation on the fly.
Exactly. And the other key feature here is relationship mapping. Why is that so critical in a B2B setting?
Oh, it's essential. Because you're almost never selling to just one person. Relationship mapping lets you visually connect, say, John the technical guy, to Jane the CEO, all under the Acme core organization. You see the whole picture.
So you understand the internal politics, the influencers.
And you make sure you're not forgetting to talk to a key stakeholder who might be working behind the scenes. It avoids a lot of nasty surprises late in the deal.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's move to the engine room. Sales pipeline management. This is where those big enterprise systems can get so complicated they're basically unusable.
And that's why Capsule focuses on visual clarity. It uses a Kanban-style board, columns representing your sales stages. Your deals are like little cards that you literally just move from left to right as they progress.
So that drag and drop simplicity, that's really about making it feel less like a chore.
It's about making it part of the natural workflow. You close a stage, you move the card. It's satisfying. It's not some administrative task you have to remember to do at 5 p.m.
And the value here the sources emphasize is customization. You have to make the pipeline match your process.
That is non-negotiable. If your sales process has a unique proof of concept phase, you build that stage into the pipeline. If you don't, the data you're tracking is meaningless. It ensures the reports you get back are based on your reality, not some generic template.
Which brings us to task and activity tracking. This is the feature that directly addresses that 60% reduction in missed follow-ups we saw in the case study.
Yeah, this is the system's conscience. It's what turns good intentions into completed actions. When you log an activity, like say you just finished a demo call, the system immediately prompts you, what's the next step? And you create that follow-up task right there with a deadline. It's linked to the person, it's linked to the deal, so it has all the context you need. It never gets lost.
Okay, and then we have the big one for any sales team, email integration. The killer of manual data entry.
This is a huge, huge time saver. It offers a full two-way sync with Gmail, with Outlook.
Yeah.
And the value is just pure automation. Every single email conversation you have is automatically saved to that contact's record.
Without you having to do anything. No BCCing some weird address.
Nothing. You just work out of your inbox like you normally would. No more copy-pasting, no more forwarding emails to the CRM. It just happens in the background. It saves hours, and it ensures the data is actually accurate.
That's where those 3 hours a week from the case study come from.
100%. And it's smart, too. If you email 3 people at the same company, it logs that email against all 3 contacts and the main organization record. So everyone has total visibility.
So last of the core 5, reporting and analytics. Big systems drown you in data. Capsule promises clean, actionable reports.
And that's their philosophy. Strategic minimalism. They deliberately avoid those crazy dashboards with 50 different charts that just give you a headache.
Right.
Instead, they focus on the handful of key performance indicators, KPIs, that you actually need to make a decision. Things like how fast are deals moving through your pipeline, or which of your marketing channels are actually bringing in profitable customers.
So the value is clarity. You get the 1 or 2 numbers you need to adjust your strategy for tomorrow. You're not spending a week trying to figure out what the report is even telling you.
Exactly. It's designed for a busy business owner, not a data scientist.
Okay, the foundation is clearly very strong, but now we have to get to that game changer question. How do these simple parts, working together, let a tool like this punch above its weight? Let's get into those 4 key advantages.
Right. So we've sort of established that the biggest reason CRMs fail is that people just don't use them. They're too complicated.
A lack of adoption.
Exactly. So these 4 advantages are all about how Capsule breaks down those barriers to adoption while still offering really powerful tools.
So, advantage 1. Intuitive design that actually works. We know people are productive in hours, but what's the design philosophy that makes that possible?
It's all about aggressive prioritization. Think about the cockpit of a 747 versus the screen on your smartphone. Capsule's design is like the smartphone. They put the most common actions, logging a call, adding a task, moving a deal right up front, super obvious. The advanced stuff, like setting up an integration, is still easy to find, but it's tucked away so it doesn't clutter up your daily view.
It prevents that feature fatigue you mentioned.
It does. But let me ask you the critical question here. If the focus is on just enough, what's the trade-off? What's the biggest thing a growing team might miss compared to an enterprise system?
That's a great question, and it's an important one. The trade-off is usually in highly complex, deeply customizable reporting and massive data warehousing.
Okay, so what does that mean in practice?
It means if you're a global company and you need to analyze 10 years of sales data across 3 different regulatory frameworks and run predictive AI models on it, Capsule is probably not your tool. But for, I would argue, 98% of growing businesses, that level of complexity is just pure overhead. It's a distraction. Capsule trades that super niche, deep reporting for usability and speed for everyone else.
That makes perfect sense. And it leads right into advantage 2, which I think is the real engine behind that 40% increase in deals. Powerful automation without complexity.
Yeah, automation is usually where things get really technical.
In the enterprise world, it absolutely is. Setting up a simple automated follow-up might mean messing with a clunky visual workflow builder, maybe even writing a little bit of code. You need a dedicated administrator.
So how does Capsule make that accessible?
They built their automation around plain English rules. Basically, if this happens, then do that.
Okay, let's get specific. Give me an example of an automation that's simple in Capsule but would be a pain somewhere else.
Sure. You can create a rule that says, and this is almost verbatim how you'd write it, if a deal status is changed to proposal sent and 7 days pass with no new activity logged, then automatically create a high-priority task for the salesperson that says, call prospect X about the proposal.
That's incredibly clear. That's just logic. It's not code.
Exactly. Any person on the team can set that up in a minute and test it with 1 click. In a bigger system, that simple rule might involve triggering 3 different modules and getting an admin to check that it doesn't break some other custom workflow.
So it's about democratizing automation. The salesperson can build the tools they need themselves without waiting for IT.
That's the game changer right there. It gives small teams incredible operational speed.
Okay, on to advantage 3. The seamless integration ecosystem, because no tool exists in a vacuum, right?
Right. The CRM has to be the central hub that talks to everything else. And Capsule integrates with over 50 of the most common tools that small businesses are already using.
And what are the must-have integrations to get the most value?
I'd break it into 3 areas: finance, marketing, and utility. For finance, connecting to Xero or QuickBooks is huge. A deal closes in the CRM, and that data is instantly ready for invoicing. No double entry, no lost revenue.
And for marketing.
Connecting to something like MailChimp is key. It keeps your contact lists in sync automatically, so your marketing campaigns are always going to the right people with the right message.
And that third category, utility, that sounds like a catch-all.
It is, and it's probably the most powerful. That's where the connection to a tool like Zapier comes in. Zapier is like a universal translator for software. It lets Capsule connect to literally thousands of other apps, even really niche ones that don't have a direct official integration. It makes the system incredibly flexible.
And for businesses thinking about the future, you mentioned an open API. Why should a business owner who isn't a coder care about that?
It's all about future-proofing. An API is basically a set of rules that lets different software talk to each other securely. An open API means Capsule publishes those rules for anyone to use.
So if my business uses some kind of weird custom industry software,
you don't have to wait for Capsule to decide to build an integration for it. You can hire your own developer to build that connection. It means that no matter how specialized your business becomes, Capsule can still be your central source of truth for customer data.
That's really powerful. Okay, finally, Advantage 4, the mobile-first approach.
Yeah, and the sources are very clear on this. The mobile app isn't an afterthought or a stripped-down version. It's a fully featured extension of the desktop experience.
Which is a big deal. A lot of legacy CRMs have terrible mobile apps that nobody wants to use.
Exactly. And that kills adoption for anyone who works out in the field. The value here is immediate data entry and consistency.
Right.
A consultant leaves a client meeting, and they can update the deal, log their notes, and set the next follow-up task right there on their phone in the car. The data is fresh, it's accurate, because it was captured in the moment.
It prevents that end-of-day backlog of admin work that everyone hates.
And that's how you get the whole team using the system, which is the only way it provides any value at all.
We've laid out the philosophy, we've covered the tech advantages. Now we need to see the proof. The case studies are where the rubber meets the road, showing that this simplicity thing actually works in the real world.
Right, and these two examples are great because they show the value for two very different types of businesses. One is about team efficiency, and the other is about individual productivity.
Let's start with case study 1, the growing agency. This was a 15-person team, lots of clients, and just classic scaling problems. Scattered info, missed follow-ups. No one knew what was happening in the sales pipeline.
And their solution was to go all in on Capsule's core features. They centralized everything, they used automation for their follow-ups, and they customized the platform with fields specific to their services, like an automated client onboarding workflow.
Okay, and the results. Let's break down these numbers because they're pretty impressive.
The first one is a 60% reduction in missed follow-ups.
60%.
That is a direct result of using that automated task management we talked about. In a service business, a missed follow-up is basically telling a client you don't care.
Which leads directly to the next metric, a 35% increase in client retention. That's the real money metric. You're not just closing deals, you're keeping clients for longer.
And that increases their lifetime value dramatically. Then there's the efficiency gain, a 50% faster client onboarding.
So that's the automation really paying off.
Yeah, if onboarding used to be 10 manual steps, now it's 5 automated ones. The team is freed up, the new client gets service faster, and everyone's happier.
And the big one for management, complete pipeline visibility. Everyone's looking at the same live data.
No more guessing about revenue forecasts. This really proves that simplicity doesn't mean sacrificing the power a team of 15 needs to operate like a well-oiled machine.
Okay, now for case study 2, the solo consultant. This is the one that really hits home for a lot of our listeners. Just one person juggling 50-plus clients with, email, a calendar, and a messy spreadsheet.
The classic setup. And the solution for this person was all about centralization and mobile access. They just took all that scattered information and poured it into one place. Then they automated all the routine follow-ups to free up their mental energy.
And the headline result is that 40% increase in deal closure rate.
And this is so important. It shows the time savings weren't just about, feeling less busy. It was about systematically capitalizing on the opportunities they already had.
It's the difference between knowing you should follow up and having a system that ensures you follow up at the right time every time.
Exactly. It let the consultant focus on what they do best, selling and consulting, not being an administrator.
And that tangible time saving, 3 hours a week.
I mean, think about that. That's 12 hours a month. That's a day and a half of work you get back. You can use that for billable hours, for finding new clients, or frankly, just have a better work-life balance.
It's a huge return on investment for a simple piece of software.
Absolutely. So when you combine that with perfect organization and great mobile access, these two studies really confirm it. The simple design translates directly into measurable, game-changing business results.
The evidence is definitely there. So for our final section, let's create the playbook. A system is only a game changer if you use it right. Let's give our listeners the how-to for actually getting this kind of value themselves.
This is the user guide. Let's go beyond the basics and talk about how to strategically implement these features to get those big results.
Okay, let's start back at the foundation. Smart contact management. We know about tagging and mapping, but how should someone systematically set this up for a real strategic advantage?
So first, you have to be disciplined about relationship mapping. When you add a new company, don't just put in your main contact. Add every single person you talk to, and this is key map their role. Label them gatekeeper, budget approver, technical user.
So you have a visual map of the organization.
Right. It helps you navigate the internal landscape and prevents you from making a misstep. Then for tagging, you need a strategy. Think in layers.
Layers, what do you mean?
Your tags should cover three things: status so, lead, prospect, client. Then interest or pain point needs HR software, Q4 budget. And finally, something like geography or industry.
So a single contact could have multiple tags?
Yeah, they can be tagged prospect, needs HR software, and Midwest. Now, with 3 clicks, you can pull up a hyper-targeted list for a new marketing campaign. That's a level of segmentation that's usually much harder to achieve.
It turns your contact list from a simple directory into an actionable asset.
Exactly. And don't forget to use the custom fields. If your business needs to track something unique, like what kind of equipment a client has, create a custom field for it. Centralize every piece of important data.
Okay, let's apply that same thinking to the visual sales pipeline. How do you make sure it's an optimization tool and not just a pretty dashboard?
The first step, and we cannot say this enough, is to customize your pipeline stages to perfectly match your actual sales process.
Do not use the defaults.
Do not use the defaults unless they happen to be perfect for you, which is unlikely. If your process includes initial discovery, then custom demo, then legal review, then those need to be your stages in that order.
And why is that alignment so critical to making it a game changer?
Because it's what makes your forecasting accurate. Once your stages are correct, Capsule will automatically calculate the probability of a deal closing based on its stage. So a deal in initial discovery might have a 10% chance, but a deal in legal review has a 90% chance. If your stages are right, those probabilities and your revenue forecasts become incredibly reliable. It gives you real confidence.
And what about for teams? How should they be using the collaboration features in the pipeline?
For complex deals, you have to use the notes and the team messaging. A salesperson might need input from a technical expert. They should tag that person directly on the deal card, have the conversation right there.
So it keeps all the communication in one place.
All of it, internal and external. It completely eliminates that who said what to whom. Confusion that can kill a complex sale.
Okay, finally, let's talk about advanced task management. This is the engine for efficiency. How do we go from just setting manual reminders to building a fully automated follow-up machine?
This is how you get those 3 hours a week back. The main step is to use those plain English Ethan rules to automate the transitions between your sales stages.
Can you walk me through another specific trigger-based setup?
Yeah. Okay, let's take a common bottleneck stage. Awaiting customer feedback. Deals can die there. So you set up an automation. If a deal moves to awaiting customer feedback, then automatically create a task for the owner to send follow-up email template 3 minutes in 3 days.
And you can add more to that.
Oh yeah, you can add a second part. And automatically create another task to place follow-up call if there's no response in 7 days. You're building a safety net.
It just takes the thinking out of it. The system remembers so you don't have to.
Precisely. And the other key step is to use recurring task templates. If you need to do quarterly business reviews with all your clients, set up a template that creates that task automatically every 90 days for every client.
It ensures those long-term relationships don't get neglected.
Never. And the final piece is to integrate it all with your calendar. Make sure your capital tasks show up in your Google or Outlook calendar. Then you can time block. You can turn a vague follow-up task into a real appointment on your schedule.
That's how you turn chaos into a professional, efficient operation, the kind that closes 40% more deals.
That's exactly how.
So we've gone through it all, from the simple philosophy to the detailed steps for getting the most value. And I think the findings really do back up that initial premise. For a growing business, simplicity isn't a limitation. It's actually the ultimate advantage.
Yeah, the evidence is all there. We've seen the speed getting value in hours, the power automation that anyone can use, and the efficiency. I mean, a 60% drop in missed follow-ups and that huge 40% increase in closed deals.
The big picture seems pretty clear. Small and medium businesses don't need, and probably should avoid, that crippling complexity of the enterprise systems to get professional, measurable results.
They need a tool that's built to accelerate what they do, not slow them down with administrative work.
Right.
This kind of platform just lowers the barrier to entry for really effective customer relationship management.
So as we wrap up, I want to come back to something we touched on with reporting. The sources really highlight Capsule's focus on clean, actionable reports, only showing you the KPIs that actually matter for making decisions.
Right, cutting through the noise.
Exactly. So with that in mind, here is our final thought for you to take away and explore. If a simple, effective system could guarantee you had perfect data and flawless follow-up, freeing you from all that administrative mess, what are the two most important, maybe non-obvious KPIs you would start tracking tomorrow to find the true leading indicators of your business's growth?
And think beyond just revenue. Think about the speed of your sales cycle, your engagement rates, the conversion ratio from one specific stage to the next. What are those two numbers that will unlock your next 40%?
Something to think about as you organize your own success. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
If you can check out and get a free trial, just use the link in the description to start testing their power for yourself. We'll see you next time.